Lately, I've been listening to the audiobook called How to Live an Artful Life by Katie Hessel, and I started to think about what would I say if you asked me how to live artfully. The first thing came to my mind is, of course, going to museums and galleries. When we think about art, we always think it in a grand scheme, like masterpieces in museums and galleries. But why going to these places is the first thing we think of whenever we seek for some artful intake. I think fundamentally it says about the curiosity of life, and that's the first key to live artfully. I've once experienced that loss of sparks and curiosity. As someone working in the art field, I always joke about my job turned me nonchalant about art. When I'm seeing art pieces hanging on museum walls, I try to understand them. I explain them, I judge them, I evaluate them.
So 85,000 number.
And I forgot the important thing, to just enjoy them. And over the years, I sort of trained myself to enjoy art again. I discovered this way of seeing. Think of the art piece by asking questions. Why they chose this color, why they painted the subject in this way. If I were to pick up a paintbrush and paint the same subject, how would I paint it? And why is it different from this artist's approach? Or maybe why I'll do the same as them? What does it say about our histories, our contexts, our lives? When I have this mini imaginary session in my head, I start to get what the art is trying to tell me. They helped me rediscover the world, see things differently, and reflect on myself and feel understood in different ways. I always find this beautiful. Speaking of being imaginative, looking at ordinary things through a different lens is also a way to live creatively and artfully. I recently went to the Theater Picasso exhibition at Tate Modern. Before I went, I didn't have high expectations. I was like, how can the curator do something about Picasso that's actually still new and interesting? But I was impressed. There are not many works in the exhibition, but the curators turned the whole space into a theatrical setup, walking through the racks, hanging the works, like you're going through the archive. As you walk through the area, you come to the backstage, a big screen showing you footages of how Picasso painted, like he's getting prepared for the show. Then you see his work on the other side of the room. They're hung lower than they usually are. The distance between the work and the viewer is closer, and it makes it seem like we're walking through a usual corridor in the backstage. And after another turn, a curtain draws, and we realize we are part of the show. A theatrical show showing Picasso's life from the curator's eyes. And this makes me think, what will I do if I were to curate a story of my life? I think the primary way might be through consumption. I'm someone who likes to buy a lot of random things. I used to feel guilty about it, but looking at it from another perspective, I realized they actually say about my personality and how I want to tell my stories. Of course, I'm not here to promote consumerism, but being more intentional about the choice can add a bit of creative sprinkles to your daily life. I want to curate a world around me that simply makes me happy. Like a coffee mug that makes my morning better, a print makes me smile when I walk past it every time, or a keychain that makes me want to take it out and unlock the door every day when I get home. And sometimes you don't even need to buy things. Just going to some bookshops and design shops will bring you inspiration and little joy. You can be excited about things. I don't know since when, being excited about things became a sign of uncoolness. We try to keep calm and now react to things to make it look like we've seen more than that. And I don't quite agree with it. Being excited and surprised is the best way to keep the passion of life. Here's me when I got the crybaby I wanted. I think that's so fun and so precious. Think about what can spark up the little excitement and happiness for you. Here are some small things that bring me joy. Go do something you love. Try to create something that you always wanted to create. Maybe bake a cake, or maybe paint your dreams. And sometimes you don't need to see a result, just embracing the excitement in the process. Creation can be messy and unpredictable, but what's more important is you try something new, not being afraid to make a mess. Sometimes a failed attempt is just the first layer of something more honest. Living artfully means giving yourself permission to experiment, to be bad at things, and to start again. Another thing I got reminded of lately is how artfully we can live when we connect with people. Some of my favorite moments from the past few weeks weren't necessarily in galleries. They were at dinner tables, in cafes, on walks with friends, just talking about life and dreams and the whatever big or small things we feel touched by. Creative exchange doesn't always look like two painters sitting down to discuss some techniques. Most of the time, it's just people being open with each other, sharing small stories, letting your inner world spill out a little. Those conversations are artworks too. Recently at an art event, my friend and I ended up chatting with some strangers about humanity, how art gives us these moments away from the material world. I love that. People who didn't know each other now standing in a crowded room could suddenly talk about the state of the world and how we're all just trying to feel something real. The more I think about it, the more I feel like living artfully has very little to do with being artistic. It's more about being appreciative, being open, being willing to notice things. It's the way we look at a painting, but also the way we look at a stranger or a cloud, or a tiny keychain that made us smile.